Hey guys, I'm Sherry. I am a musician, a writer, and a life coach. And last year, I decided that I wanted to try to do content creation. So, this is my personal experience in a year of doing content creation. And I have been doing it about, to give you an idea, like 30 to 40 hours a week between recording videos, editing, comments, writing articles, all that good stuff. So I wanted to do this video mainly because I think so many people want to be content creators, but first of all, like there's so much fear involved in it. Like a lot of people are afraid of criticism. You're afraid of putting yourself out there and getting negative comments. There's also this idea of perfectionism. Like you have to be absolutely perfect. You have to have like the best equipment. You have to have like the perfect personality. You have to know so much. So those things alone prevent people from even attempting content creation. But I think also something that should really be said is that I think you need to know what you're getting into when you get into content creation, because the question, like, is it worth it, is an individual thing. For me, yes. I first started creating content 7 years ago. I started a YouTube channel, and I probably, like a lot of people, thought I could just put a couple videos online and that would be it. And that's really not what happened. No one watched. I kept going for a little bit and then I got discouraged. I had other things going on in my life. So I really just set it down for like literally like 6 years. It wasn't until a year ago that I decided I wanted to pick it up again. I wanted to start, this process again, because for me, it's worth it to try because there's so many like benefits of it. I mean, content creation right now, I'm sure you know, is $1 billion industry. I don't think it's going anywhere. There are so many people living like the lives of their dreams just by like sharing what they know or entertaining whatever, what on YouTube and Instagram and all the social media platforms. So I personally think it's worth it, but I also think it's still relatively new, and I think it's important for people that are getting into it to know what you're getting into. So this is what I've learned just in a year of just being like really, really serious about content creation. Spending like 30 to 40 hours a week, sometimes more, honestly, usually more, but at least that amount of time. So like really just putting in like a full on effort. And the first thing I think is really important to know is that like it is not a short game. It is a long game. It will probably take you at least a year. I know I've seen a lot of YouTube people saying it takes about 100 videos, and that's been my personal experience as well. With a channel I have monetized, it's about 100 videos. And even in the blog world, if you're into blogging at all, which I'm also started a year ago, it takes usually about like 100 articles realistically before you get any sort of monetary reward. So I think if you are into content creation, or if you want to get into it, I think it's really important to know that. Otherwise, you're just going to beat yourself up. You're going to think like, this is me. I don't have anything to say. So you're just not going to feel good about yourself if you don't come into it knowing that. I know there's a lot of people that claim that they get monetized right away and that all they have to do is put up a few videos. And I can guarantee you that probably 99% of those people, that's not the first video they've made. They've probably been doing it for years. They've already been through that awkward phase of no one watching, and it's so long ago they've forgotten. But I guarantee you, like, that's not their first video. Like, if you are coming into it as a normal person, I consider myself fairly normal, just in the sense that like I'm not, I wasn't born loaded. I don't have like any kind of special connection. I don't know anything about technology. Like I don't have any real advantage over other people in terms of like, having like a leg up. So if you're just a normal person, it's really important to know ahead of time that it will take time. A lot of time, probably. I think it's kind of funny because people think absolutely nothing about spending like $100,000 and working full time for 4 years with the chance of possibly making more money when you get out of school. Like, that is just not even a thought. Like, it's considered completely normal to do that. I know because I did it. But yet, when you tell people that you're trying to like create content or trying to do a blog or trying to do videos, they look at you like you have three heads, at least the people I'm around. Like, they just like the idea of working full time for like 1 to 2 years before seeing a dime is considered insane in that context. But yet, spending money, uh, probably working even more than 40 hours a week for 4 years with the chance of making money, and not even like that much money, in my opinion, is considered normal. I mean, I can't be the only one that's thought this way, or else no one else would be even attempting it. But that's kind of how I get through all of, all of the kind of like disappointments and feelings of just like, is this ever going to amount to anything? Like, I just remind myself, like, there's people actually like spending thousands of dollars and going into debt their whole lives and working for 4 years with a chance of making more money. So it's basically that's how I get through it. I'm like, it's not that weird when you think about it in terms of like getting an education. It's just another job that takes time and training, but the training is the doing. So another thing I think is really important if you want to get into content creation, or if you are doing it, is perfectionism is literally your enemy. Like, if you think you have to have like the best equipment, you have to know everything, like there's literally no way that it's going to work. Like, we learn through doing. Like, no amount of research and listening to people's videos about what you need to do, nothing is going to replace actually doing something. So if you're doing content creation, creating content, it's important to know that just by doing it, you're actually learning. Like, that's the training. If you can just like stop thinking about like the reward and just think of it as like the training. Like, the more you do something, the better you get at it. And it's really, really that simple. Like, even people that are just like the top notch in the game at one point sucked. And I think it's really, really important to just be okay with that. And also know you're going to get negative comments. There's people that are afraid to do things and they just aren't happy and they want to take it out on you because you're out there. If you're creating content, you're going to be out there so people can say things. And I think it's important to just know that and to be okay with it. My personal policy is, if something isn't an attempt at humor or constructively critical, then I delete it. I appreciate humor, I really do. Like, if something is like a little negative but also a little funny, I don't respond to it, but I usually just keep it there. But that's just me. Everyone's different. I think it's important though, if you are getting into it, to just have like your own personal policy in the very beginning and just accept it. It's going to happen. And also know that you are going to have to make your own schedule. You're not going to have any boss that's going to tell you to show up. You're not going to get fired if you don't show up. So I think you need to be really honest about your work ethic. Like, is that something you can do? Like, if you want to just put up like a few videos and then not worry about it, or just like put up a video every 6 months, it's probably not going to happen at all, really. Maybe in 5 years or something. But like, it's almost like if you're not willing to like show up and to do that, and you can't do that, I think it's important to really just acknowledge that ahead of time, and then you're not like so disappointed and we're like, oh no, I'm like, can't make the time to do this. Like, me personally, I was a self-employed for 8 years, like as a musician. So I already know I kind of had that it's a certain mindset. Like, you have to show up even though no one's telling you to. So I already knew that about myself. So that's something that's easy for me. But I think it really is important to be honest. Like, can you actually do this? Do you have that kind of work ethic? And if you don't, are you willing to acquire it? And also be realistic with the time you have. If you have kids, like obviously it's a lot more difficult to find the time. Like there's several factors, like, everyone's different, everyone has their own time, but I think it's really important to be realistic. Don't tell yourself you're going to be spending 20 hours a week if you have like, another full-time job and like 5 kids and a husband that isn't working or whatever. Like you got to be realistic with what you can do with your time, and then stick to that schedule. Like, just if you only have an hour Wednesday at 6 p.m., then make sure you show up at Wednesday 6 p.m. Because like I just know how easy it is to just get off track. If you just like, just kind of like slack off for a little bit, it becomes a lot harder to keep going. And I really stay motivated by focusing on the why. And I think that's really important because it's easy to get lost in all the tasks and all the things you have to do, and to get kind of like feeling a little unmotivated. But I just continuously remind myself on why I do it. And the main reason is just the idea of just like freedom and making my own schedule and living the life like that I've always wanted. But also it's really rewarding for me to like share what I've learned, to share my music, to just like engage with people, because I think I've always just been someone, if I learn something, I just have to share it with other people. I just get so excited. So like for me, that's a big reason why I do it too. And I think if I didn't have that, it would be really hard to keep going. Like I couldn't just keep going with like the thought of making money in the future. Like that's why I don't really do the AI thing or have any interest in that kind of world, because it's like for me it's more about just like sharing what I've learned personally and connecting with people. But everyone's why is different, so just ask yourself what your why is. And another thing I think is really important is like being yourself. If you're going to be spending so much time creating content, putting yourself out there, make sure you're actually putting yourself out there and you're not just trying to like pretend to be someone else. Like so many people just think they have to act a certain way to like, be an influencer or whatever. And it's like, I don't think it's a good thing, because like it kind of kills individuality. Like everyone has their own unique perspective, their own unique personality. So I think it's just really important to just not try to be someone else. Like it's so much more energy and so much harder to like put on a persona that isn't you. And I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to do it if I wasn't just being myself. And I know I don't even have close to like the classic personality, but that's all right. And also know that making content is part of the learning process. So even though you're not getting a reward right away, like you're still like, just by doing it, you're learning something. Like just think of it as like school. Like, you're doing something. And by doing it, you get better. So if you just like, it's not a waste if you look at it in that way. And also, you got to be okay with like sucking a little bit at first, because it's just every skill, like every talent, everything we learn, like we're not going to come into it knowing everything. Like you can't pick up an instrument and like sound amazing. Like it's going to take a little bit of practice, a little bit of time. So if you just look at like actually creating the content as like a process at first, rather than like looking for the immediate results, then I think it's a lot easier to keep going, because you at least know you're learning something every single time. So for me, yes, content creation is worth it. Even working a full year and not really, it's been hard. And I did recently monetize one of my channels, so I'm so happy about that. And totally well worth the year of effort for me personally, and it keeps me going with my other projects. So for me personally, yes, but like I said, everyone's different. I know I have that kind of self-drive, and I know what I'm getting into, so I don't have the same kind of like letdown that I had originally. So for me, yes, it is worth it, but it's something that I think everyone has to ask themselves if it's something you're interested in. Like, are you willing to put in the work, and are you okay with the negative, aspects of it? Everything that, all the work involved at first, up front. So hopefully this is helpful for anyone who is interested in content creation. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.